Hey everybody, Armando, Security Owners Group. So this will be my third video with COVID. Feeling a heck of a lot better. I think we're going on like day 4 or 5 of this thing, but I can breathe. There's no more snot. You don't have to worry about that. And the cough is pretty much minimal. No fever anymore. So the thing is, just kind of changes constantly, right? Never know what the next hour is going to give me. So. This morning, I got up and checked some of my email and saw that Security 101 had been acquired and that they're going to triple in size. So that got me thinking more and more about how important it is with what we're doing here at Security Owners Group, right? The bigger companies, the nationals, internationals, and the companies that are lucky enough to grow to be that size. Security 101 was at one point, a real independent. That's where they started, and then they franchised, and now they're heading down that road, right? So there's a lot that we can learn from companies that size, but there's also a lot to be concerned about with the industry because it seems like, much like in the regular world where the middle class is disappearing, right? People are getting wealthier or poorer. In the industry, businesses are doing the same thing. They're either getting to the point where they're massive or they're staying small with 1 or 2 people, right? And usually that second person's a contractor or a helper or something like that. So that middle ground, though, that is where a lot of the service innovation happens. A lot of the best results are seen in that middle ground because those are companies that are small enough to care, right? Where every customer matters, where every employee is known, but big enough that they have some resources, that it's not just the owner and their assistant or the owner and their kids or their spouse or that kind of thing. So this stuff that we do is really important because as a smaller company, let's say sub 50 or 60 employees, you want to grow to that point where you can either sell or franchise or expand to the point where you're considered like one of those companies, one of the nationals. But you don't want to do so in a way where you lose what gives you your competitive edge, which is in most cases the personality of the business, right? The fact that there are real people working there and that every person has an influence, right? That leads to a company culture that is evident, it's seen, it's felt when you do business with a client. So really important, right? Get your stuff under control, educate yourself on what it is to run the business. Everybody who starts a company in the security industry knows how to do their job, right? They know how to sell if they were a salesperson. They know how to install if they were an installer or a foreman or a lead installer or whatever. They know how to schedule, but nobody that's a CFO of a major company decides, oh, you know what, I'm going to go start my security company. That doesn't happen. It's always the installer, the sales guy, the project manager, somebody like that, or somebody who's doing multiple roles, right? It's never the marketing guy. It's never the CFO or the accountant or the bookkeeper or the controller. It's never the people that know the business side of things. It's always the people that know how to do it. So just like any other business, when you start a company because you are the doer and you think you can do better on your own, that's often true. But the stuff that the rest of the business needs to run is often overlooked. So as those, speaking specifically to those of you who have, less than 3 or 4 employees, right, and you're struggling to let go, to hire the right person, be profitable enough to hire the right person, and then let go of enough control to let that person either succeed or fail. That's the hardest step, and if you can find your way through that, you're well on your way to being in the middle ground, because all you have to do is replicate that experience as many times as it takes to get to the right team. So, why am I so lucky? Well, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've gone through a lot of people and a lot of teams that, I never hired anybody who I thought was a bad fit, but I certainly have been wrong about whether somebody was a good fit, right? Lucky enough now, and it looks easy because I've got a fantastic team, But the pain that it has taken to get to where we've got that team has not been easy, and it's not been an overnight thing. It's taken, a good 10, 12 years with this company to get there. So this week, excuse me, this week I didn't plan to get COVID. I didn't plan to be out of the office. I planned to be there busting my butt every day. Matter of fact, I've got some quotes that need to get out. I've got some stuff that have been sold that need to get entered in the system and converted. I've got an event that we're planning for next month that really needs my attention, and I'm stuck at home. I didn't bring my laptop. I didn't bring any paperwork. I didn't bring anything this weekend because I wasn't planning on being home. So, I'm lucky that I've got a team that has built processes. We've built them together, but they've really implemented them, and that gives a shit. Their give a shit meter is full, right? These guys really love the company. They care about what it does. They like me as a human being, which is kind of a side effect of not being a dirtbag, but that's beside the point. It looks easy if you have the right people. It's not easy. It never is, right? So going back to the beginning of what we were, what the purpose of this video is, I didn't plan to be away, but I'm not concerned about the business, right? When I got sick, I could stay home with my kid, and I could worry about taking care of myself and taking care of her. I didn't have to worry about where the business was and what it was doing. And since then, we've actually had a couple other people in the business get sick. And despite being down several people, I'm not concerned about the health of the business or how it's moving or things like that, because I know that the team cares and knows what they're doing. Now, to get there, I had to build a good business. I had to build systems. I had to hire the right people, and then listen to them when they gave me changes to those systems, right? Because you shouldn't be hiring people who are beneath you. You should be hiring people who you think are better than you at something, or smarter, who have things to contribute that you don't. And that right there is the secret, right? Everybody says, oh, I hire people, but they're not as good at it as I am. Well, you hired the wrong person, right? Hire somebody who's actually good at that. Don't be a cheap ass. You know the business is going to do well if you're running it right. Hire the right people. Sometimes you have to hire too many people. Sometimes you have to hire, you can't afford them, legitimately cannot afford them, right? And in that case, then you have to create a path for those people to get where they want to go, and they'll drag you along with them, right? But you have to have a path to get there. So if you're hiring people who are not doing the job that as good as you can, then you either need to train them or you need to hire somebody who's better, okay? And stop using that as an excuse as the owner, because at the end of the day, the buck stops with you, right? If something fails in your business, it's not because somebody else fucked it up. It's because you didn't do it right. You didn't organize it right. You didn't hire the right person. You didn't train them. Whatever it is, it's on you, okay? So build those processes one at a time. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. You build the business the same way. Eventually, you'll find that, hey, you've got 10, 15, 20, 25 people, and the business could run itself if you allowed it to, right? Most of the time, it's us that are standing in the way of the business running itself because we won't let go of something. So very important, very, very important that you test this stuff, that you hire someone, you run it, you give up the reins, let them do their thing, and then come back and correct and train and coach and improve. Because, again, you're not going to get to where you're selling your company to an investment firm for $500 million or $500 billion, whatever the Security 101 sold for, it's irrelevant. You're not going to get there overnight, but you can absolutely get there if you build a solid business that has a solid foundation, right? So if you're a plumber, you need a foundation guy, right? If you're an electrician, you need a plumber. To do the rest of the work in the house, you can't. You have to recognize what you're good at, and then hire everything else around you to support what you're good at. And eventually, you need to get away from what you're good at too and step into the stuff that you're uncomfortable with, right? So I'm not a finance guy. I'm a sales guy. I started out in sales. I was really good at it. I did really, really well through 3 different companies. But you know what? I realized if I wanted my company to have a solid foundation, I had to become a finance guy. I had to learn the metrics. I had to learn how to manage people. I'm not really a good manager, which is fortunate because I don't need to be. I just need to be a really good coach. So I figured that out in the last year, and that has made huge, huge difference in the business. Okay. So if you're a technician, if you're a sales guy, and you zone out when I start talking about what your percentages need to be in the business, or you zone out when I start talking about your effective labor rate and how your labor rate itself doesn't actually matter, if you zone out when I start talking about your parts to labor ratio and all this wonky number stuff, don't, because it matters. You got to pay attention to that stuff, and your business has to be in balance for you to step back far enough to see where it can go and to see what it needs next. Okay. So I know there wasn't any specific business advice in this, but more acknowledgement that what we do is important, and it's important that people learn it, because the more and more companies that get to the point where Security 101 is, the more and more companies will sell, and they'll continue to grow larger, and there will be a giant, giant void in the middle of the marketplace. And your choices will be trunk slammer, who can't let go of anything in his business, so he's destined to not grow, or she, or giant multinational company that, nobody takes accountability for anything when it goes wrong, and customers end up totally unhappy. All right. So let's work together. Let's get everybody on the same page as far as what it looks like to run a good business, and let's help more people build their security company into that middle ground. Now, that middle ground is a huge space. Okay. You can do an awful lot with 50 employees. You can do an awful lot with 100 employees, and that's not a massive company. All right. So, all that said, have a good evening. Again, stay away from COVID. This stuff is nasty and it is not fun. But I will try to do another video tomorrow. I think I hopefully will wake up tomorrow totally on the mend and 100%. In the meantime, I'm Armando, Security Owners Group, right? Subscribe to the video or to the YouTube channel if you're interested in learning more about how to build your business into that middle ground to be successful and to be bigger than you are. I'm going to go get some chicken soup. Later.